Hey guys, welcome to lesson 34 where we'll be learning about two-dimensional arrays. So this may look familiar to you. We have 3 rows and 2 columns. If we were talking about, if you remember way back to like algebra 2, this looks like the setup for a matrix. This would be a 3 by 2 matrix. So it's a 3 by 2 array. It's really important to remember that it goes rows first and then columns. So it's like reverse alphabetical order. A matrix is useful for things like computer graphics, sports statistics, seismology and geology, human behavior, genetics, even electricity. So let's look at it in Eclipse. So I have a new project and a new class set up for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in this array in our project, in our program. So there are a couple different ways to do that. The first way you need to start is by declaring it. So we're going to call this A. So a two-dimensional array, a one-dimensional array only has one set of brackets. A two-dimensional array is going to have 2 sets. Then you do new, and since we're making an integer array, we have 3 rows and 2 columns. So just remember 3 rows, 2 columns, because rows go first. This is set up just like a regular array, except there's 2. Now if we fill it in correctly, the spot at 0, 0, it's that first spot at the top left. So this is like saying this is row 1, or row 0, row 1, and row 2. And this is column 0 and column 1. So this is how you would fill in row 1. This fills in that first row. So really we have index 0 row and index 1 row. And this would be the third row. So you'll notice that all the zeros, those are the left, and all the ones are the right. Now you may be looking at this and you're saying to yourself, I'm never going to remember how to do that. You know what? There's an easier way. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this. So we just declared our array. So then what we'll do over here is we'll open up a bracket and we'll say 22, 23. Close that bracket, do a comma, and then go to the next line. And I always try to kind of get it right below, even though some of the formatting doesn't want me to. There we go. 24, 25, close the bracket, do a comma, there it goes. 26, 27, close the bracket, close the other bracket, semicolon. Now my Eclipse put in an extra bracket right here, so I'm going to delete that. This method both declares and initializes. Plus it's much easier because if you can just remember to put in the commas and where the brackets go, you don't have to memorize how to read a matrix. I think I would rather do it that way. There's a third way to do it in your book too. The second way is the easiest way, and I would always do this if I were you. But if on the AP exam you may run into the first way or the third way, just know that they're out there and they're legitimate. But if you hit the right code, why wouldn't you do it the easiest way? Alright, so let's do some stuff with this array. So if you're in a situation where you want to know how many rows your array has, do a.length. So remember how before with our array, it would tell us how many items were in the array. This tells you how many rows. So go ahead and run it. It should come back with 3. But what if you want to know how many columns there are? Unfortunately, there's no easy way just to say how many columns does this matrix have. What you want to do is ask how many columns does row 1 have? So you guys are actually going to like this a lot. So go ahead and we're going to copy and paste the same line. What we want to look at is column A. So we're looking at the 0 array of A. So this is going to tell us how many columns. Go ahead and run it, and it tells us how many. Now, if you wanted to check a different row, you would say like A1, because the first line is index 0, the second line is index 1. So it should also come back 2. Now, obviously, this has the same number of rows and columns, but unfortunately, not just for us, but for the world, there are such things as ragged arrays. Ragged arrays means that they could have a different number of rows and columns. These are very, very rare, and you almost never see them, but they do exist. If you are into self-loathing, then there is lots of information right here about ragged arrays. But for the most part, you're probably not going to see them. All you really need to know is that they do exist. Sorry, I'm sad about it too. Now, we made an integer array, but you can make an array out of anything. You can have an array of strings, you can have an array of doubles, you can have an array of bank account or circle objects. It doesn't matter. Any object can be put into an array. So now, here's the thing. We just initialized this integer array, or two-dimensional array, ABC, and we set it to be 20 by 30. So what it's going to do is whatever is in the 6th row in the 23rd column, remember indices, it's going to print whatever's there. Since we haven't declared anything, right now it's just going to print 0. So we run this, and yes, it does produce 0. So now let's say you have two different arrays. So we have integer array B and integer array C. Go ahead and pause here if you need to put those in. So one thing that we did before is we tested to see if they were equal. So if we ran print line, remember the arrays class, if it comes back into play here, dot equals B comma C, close it, you see how it doesn't come up with anything? Because this is always false. Never use this. Two-dimensional arrays are totally uncomparable. It's like looking at a character in a book. You can't compare two characters. You can kind of try, but people are so different so many ways. Same with two-dimensional arrays. They're two-dimensional. They're not comparable. They're so different. But what you can do is you can test different rows in them to see if they're the same. So we're testing arrays.equals and not A0, we're testing B0 against C1. So B0 is 3921 and C1 is 3921. So if we run that, it should be true. It is. So Boolean true false. So you can compare rows. Row 0 of B to row 1 of C. Let's look at something else we did with regular arrays that we can't do with doubles. We can't sort them anymore. Remember we used to sort them in order? This is illegal. This is going to give you a runtime exception. However, again, you can sort them by row. So I'm going to comment out the one that's illegal because you would sort them this way. So it would end up printing 1239 instead of 3921. You can also run a binary search, which we are going to talk about later, but I want you to become familiar with it. So what a binary search does is it searches for criteria in an array, and then it returns with the location in the array. So we are looking in B row 0 for the number 9. It is in location 0, 1, 2, 3, so it should return a 3. So let's go ahead and run it, and it does. So that's what binary search does. So we talked about testing for equality in an array. We talked about sorting an array. We talked about binary search in the 2D arrays. And the last thing we're going to talk about is fill an array. So before we would do arrays.fill and say, surprise, B, you're going to be filled with the number 22 the whole way. Well, you can't do that anymore. This is illegal. So I'm going to comment it out. That's the way you would do a one-dimensional array. A two-dimensional array, what you'll have to do is do arrays.fill and then fill just the rows. So if we wanted to fill row 1 number 22, we can. But we can't fill the entire array. We have to fill one row at a time. So you have some questions to do for this lesson. You also have a project called matrix multiplication. Get excited. Now, there is a bonus one here. I will not make you do this, but if you do the matrix multiplication with file input, it is worth extra credit. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.